Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode of Velocity Kinetics. What are we doing today? We're reviewing the Volvo. See what it's like. We're not going to do it quite the same way as we did with the Swace and the Civic, more because the roads I was using, a friend of mine who's got a Saab 9.3, he's been driving down those roads the last couple of days, and since I went down there in this on a Swace cast, some of those roads are just fallen to pieces. He's picked up some quite nasty damage on the upright on his Saab. I have no intention of finding out whether he's telling me it's the correct road, because when I've asked about it, he says it is. But anyway, let's have a wander around, shall we? Let's see what we think. Now, to start off with, I need to apologise if this looks a bit off. I'm recording this in 0.5 zoom because I want to demonstrate something, but we've got a lovely layout. I prefer the sport layout, but you can change the theme on the end of the stick, so you can go to eco, you can go to elegance. I just prefer the look of the performance. I don't think there's any difference in how the car feels. But there we are. As you can see, we're currently getting 39.8 miles to the gallon, which that's gone up quite a lot because this has just done a trip up to Newcastle. It was at 35 before I left, and I put some of the faster go bang juice in it, the more explosive dinosaur juice, the 99 RON, and it just ate the miles. The reason why I'm recording in 0.5 view is I want to show something. I'm not sure if I'll be able to articulate it properly in another part of the video. So there isn't really, if you can see, anywhere really you can rest your foot for the clutch when you're not using it. So I sort of end up resting my foot like this. Now, you may not think it's the most ergonomic thing on the planet, and probably isn't if I was a full-blown physiotherapist, but it's actually reasonably comfortable, and with where my foot is, if I can just get back in there, I can easily get into clutch and come off quite nicely. It's not perfect. I do still, in these particular boots, I do sometimes catch my foot on the clutch, but if I make sure I physically move my foot, it's okay. The bite point is all right, so I don't know how well this is going to show up on the video. I don't know if you can hear that. That's it picking up quite nicely. It's quite a low bite point, which is quite nice for this. The switch gear is nice, it's simple. I do find, though, I have to sometimes be very firm with the buttons when I'm driving. That's not necessarily a bad thing. In some ways, at times in the Civic, I could accidentally press a button and something would happen, and I didn't want it to. But sometimes I do wish if I press the button to... push the button to do... I've had to press it twice. Maybe there's a setting I haven't found to make it more sensitive, I don't know. The front wipers and rear wiper aren't too bad. The rear wiper does need replacing. We've got this screen here. It is not Android Auto. This car doesn't have it. Ignore this cable, it's for my dash cam. I do need to find a better way to route it, but at the moment it's not anywhere too bad. And you know, as an inside space, it is really nice. It's got these good seats, the R design seats, nice and comfortable. Got the leather. It's in good nick for a car from 2018. Got the rubber mats, and I've even got them in the back as well. Lovely glove box on this, nice and big. Got all my documents and some mints for long journeys. Got a nice visibility out the front from my driving position. Got a nice visibility backwards. Can easily get a nice view out of my wing mirrors. It's a nicely proportioned vehicle. The handbrake, however, with where it is now, I don't know if it's because it stays this side when the car is in its left-hand drive configuration, or if it moves over when it goes between left and right-hand drive. But sometimes it's fun when you're consenting adults and you keep accidentally brushing someone's leg. But let me just put my foot on the brakes so the car don't roll. If I put the handbrake off, I've not got small hands, but they're not exactly the biggest. That's I'm rubbing someone's leg if they're there, or at least potentially getting uncomfortably close to. Handbrake's nice. When I first got it, I thought it was going to be a bit firm, not firm, tight. It felt like it had been overdone, but it's all good. Lovely 6-speed gearbox. Coming back into 6th doesn't feel unnatural. In it, we do have a reversing camera, as you can see there, and the lines bend when I turn the wheel. Sarah quite likes it. I don't mind it. Sometimes it does make me wonder how I got on with it without. It does sometimes take a minute or two though for that to go off and go back to normal. But John Banks that's a new Volvo camera. They got it coded to the car at a Volvo dealership. This car I've had for a couple of weeks now. We've even got panoramic roof. It's not a sunroof, it's just a panoramic roof. Got a lovely interior in the back as well. It is also got the full-blown cover for it. I thought it didn't, which I did think was a design flaw when I first picked the car up, but then I realised what that switch was for. It took me a bit longer than you'd think. Got the Volvo On Call stuff up there as well. Back down here we got the headlight controls. I don't have the same problem with my headlights. I don't know if you can pick that up on the video. I can see it on here. It's not really coming on, but if you can see, that's sort of a nice level on my headlights up there. Yeah, it's all in all quite a pleasant place to be. The only problem, as such, if you want to call it a problem, is you can see my mirror is cracked. We're missing this here. Not too bad, but could be better. But then again, it wasn't a Volvo dealership I bought it from. This is a little alien up here. It's just some muscle memory thing I got to get used to because I'm used to them being about here. But the buttons got a nice feel to them. You wouldn't think the car was the 2018 registered vehicle, and on an 18 plate as well. Let's have a wander around. And something else I can't quite get used to. Engine start there. Take that out. This stays on. Screen stays on. If I press that just so I can unlock all the other doors, it finally goes off then. Mental. So again, I'm just going to record this in the 0.5 zoom. So as you can see, I've got from my outside, got the interior, I've got the memory power seats. They are fantastic. Sarah and I find them really useful, as in makes you realise how inconvenient it is to keep bouncing between both different settings when you're having to do it manually. Very comfortable. Seatbelt still goes back in the right place. The Honda one had stopped doing that. Lovely armrest, quite comfortable. Like I say, it's just a lovely place to be. So we got that, got it in silver. V40 did originally come in quite a number of different colours, particularly good in Polestar blue. This is the rear space, so that's where I would be. That's my driving position. It's not the greatest of rear leg room. We do have this nice little tray here for odds and ends. Sarah says it's a very comfortable back seat. I have lost the heated rear seats in this car compared to what I had in the Civic, but it's still very nice, very comfortable. Can't get my I normally store the ISA back there, but I can't get that in. Nice pockets, good seating, good visibility. Got the ISOFIX tucked in right down here. Classic Volvo. I wondered what this was the other day. I thought, oh, does this turn into a tiny booster seat? No, pull that. Got another cup holder. Scandinavian, eh? And then we got the official Volvo rubber mats in the back. Yeah, very nice car. Very comfortable. Got the black wheels on this one. Wasn't what I would have ordered it in the normal one if it was something I had bought myself. Fairly standard. And around the back, this is a T2 R Design Pro Nav model. So if we just tuck this up here, you can see there's the reversing camera. Give it a little clean whilst I'm here. Not the tidiest of boots. It's not the biggest. However, these sort of saddlebag things at the back, I bought for the Civic because I sat on the lip between where the back seat sort of rested on too. There was a nice little lip. They just velcroed too. So I need to get something smaller. I need to tidy this up a bit. I've basically lifted and shifted from the Honda, but We do have a nice low capacity when it's when it's empty. We can get the market, the butchers, and our food shopping here quite comfortably. And as most British cars probably have, the bag of bags. Lovely twin exit exhaust. They do look very smart. It's a shame it didn't have a bit more actual R design power and things to it. Parking sensors, really handy. Parcel shelf, nicely in place. Even got a little light all the way back up there. Yeah, this car's even got, can I even get to it? No, I can't. I've even got a proper spare wheel. Well, not a full-blown proper. I've got spare wheelies and I've got a donut. I haven't got a spray kit, which is really good. And then further round, it's a bit weird having the fuel cap on the other side. All my other cars have had the fuel cap on this side. That's a lovely view of my finger again. So again, that's the interior. These are just gorgeous chairs. There's something the Scandinavians do right is interiors. I don't understand how other manufacturers get it so wrong. And there's something nice about the Volvo thunk on the doors. Where this car becomes quite a rare beast is this, the electric passenger seat. So from what I gather, this might have been an enterprise rental car when it was first in existence. And then we've got the bonnet pull down here. Let's go have a look, shall we? So on gas struts instead of the other thing that I've had on all my other cars. 2-litre engine in this. Came fully serviced. Headlights look really good. That drinks an awful lot. I've got 3 jets. I think you can probably work it out from here. 3 jets on there. Don't know where the dipstick is. Haven't really gone looking for it yet, apart from the dipstick that's behind the driving, but in the driving seat, obviously. But yeah, it's a lovely put together vehicle. And just, well, it just works, doesn't it? Only downside with these gas strut ones, I've got to wait for it to lose the tension. And then it goes. Now, some of you might think it weird why I would review a car that's long been off sale. And you're not wrong, it is a weird thing to review, even if it is something I wish to get into as a career in some various daydream wonderland. But this is quite, in my opinion, quite an underrated Volvo. So the V40 history, they came out originally in 1996 as a replacement for the 400 series, the 440 and the 460, and I do believe the 480 was included in that 400 series as well. So the 440 and the 460 were a hatchback and saloon, the S40 and V40 were a saloon and estate. Now the V40, my parents had 4 of them, very nice cars. My dad also had 2 S40s, all pre-2005, pre-2005. I think the most recent one was a 2004 plate one, if I remember rightly, in 04 is what its original registration would have been. And they had, my dad had original S40 was 1.6, he had an S40 with a 1.8, 2 V40s with 1.8 engines, and 2 V40s 1.8 engines as well, and 2 V40s with a 2-litre engine. The 2-litre engine in this puts out 122 PS, so it puts it a little behind, so 122 horsepower, which puts it a little behind my Swace in terms of power. The Swace has more torque because it's got the electric motor, but this does get up to speed a lot better, and it makes a nicer noise. What I don't know, with it being a 2-litre 4-cylinder, obviously that's 500cc per cylinder, was this originally a 2.5-litre 5-cylinder model, which you could get on the T5s, and they've just lopped a cylinder off to make it 2-litre and 4-cylinder, because you can sort of hear the beginnings of the 5-cylinder thrum when you get up the rev range. Where I live in Bury St Edmunds, you do see a lot of these around, because we had the dealership at Sesson Larter, both in Westley, and when it moved to where it is on the the Westley Road, but in Bury St Edmunds. Sorry, I can see my camera is attempting to focus. I'm not quite sure what it's focusing on. Maybe it'll make its mind up, I don't know. But that's what we see a lot of them around. I nearly bought one as my first car, so well, leased one technically. I nearly leased. I don't remember what the model was at the time, but I nearly leased one as my very first car after the sale of two S40s and two C30s fell through. They were going to give me it on favourable terms, but it would have only been 6,000 miles a year. It would have been my mileage allowance, which might have been okay, but I'd have been out of pocket quite majorly. But there was also one of these, a V40 XC, or cross country, that basically it fell into that genre of city car, city hatchback, where they raised the ride height a tiny bit and slapped some plastic 4x4 looking stuff on it, and it couldn't actually do any off-road stuff. But it was all right for what it was. And like I said, these came in a beautiful array of colours. Anything from various golds and yellow, gold/yellow, I can't remember what it's called, but all the original V70R and S70R could come in. And the Z70 actually used to come in it as well, a gorgeous sort of autumn, not autumn gold, or was it autumn gold, autumn yellow maybe, I don't know, it was a lovely colour, one of the few cars that actually looked good in yellow. It came in lovely green. There was what was called Polestar Blue. Now the Polestar Blue, if for those people who aren't familiar with Volvo, think sort of an azure blue, that sort of shade of wow. These also came with the Big Daddy 2.5 litre 5-cylinder turbo engines in as well, and they didn't drive as well as their Ford counterparts because it's a Volvo, but it's not exactly a bad car either. In fact, I think Volvo missed a trick not handing it fully over to Polestar and doing something big in that regard. This car in particular, this one, has been in Bury St Edmunds all its life, apparently, despite its original number plate being KY18, so KY, I believe it's Milton Keynes. I believe it was Enterprise Reg Car, and then Cesson Lata / Holden, whatever they were calling themselves at the time. I think it was Cesson Lata because that's what's in the service book. Got hold of it. I've got all the receipts from all its services. It's had a full Volvo service history, apart from when it was serviced at Honda when it was traded in. But full service, full Volvo. They know about it at the dealership that I would frequent. When I was thinking about replacing the car, replacing the Honda, as in the previous video I sort of indicated, as you can sort of tell by that one's more rambling, uncertain nature. I do apologise, I think the camera's doing more autofocusing rubbish again. But as you could tell by that video's more rambling nature, I was unsure as to whether I wanted to keep the Honda. I ummed and ahed, I nearly pulled out of this. But ultimately, having gone for it, I think I've made the right choice. When I bought the Honda originally, there was also another one of these in a D4, which is the bigger diesel engine available at Holden at the time, but it had 64,000 miles on it, I do believe. And I believe that's someone in the village being murdered, maybe even just a simple pheasant, I don't know. The hard bit for me is well, not necessarily hard, I suppose, but the interesting bit for me is I never thought I would own a Volvo. Not as in, oh, I've got to have what my dad had, because I've been a Volvo lover for years, and always wanted one, as mentioned, where I nearly had one as my first car. And even when I was 17 and looking at what I could afford as a car, 440s and 460s were what I was looking at. At that time I actually really wanted a Volvo 480 as my first car. How far we've come. But more because I always thought Volvo was just never gonna happen. I just thought they were always going to be too expensive. Now, for some reason only known to Volvo, and hopefully I can find out a bit before I decide to edit this, and hopefully I remember to do it before I edit this, and if not, this is a point to Editor Chris to stop and have a look and record something. I'm not 100% sure as I sit here why they took this car off sale, because as I am, I think Volvo missed a massive trick, and the amount of them they sold is balmy. So the original V40, the hatchback V40 came back in 2012, went off sale in 2019. Volvo didn't provide an explanation as to why it went off sale. They just took it off, and there was something else meant to be coming for it. They sold many different trim levels, petrol, diesel, turbocharged. Just a good, solid, honest family hatchback. Now, it might be, if it's running a Ford chassis, for example, it might be whatever agreement with Ford lapsed, and that's fair enough. Business is business. But if it was a Volvo chassis through and through, with Volvo bits all on top of it, then I really don't get it. Because if you're thinking about competing with the established Germans, you've got Audi with their A3 hatchback, Mercedes with their A-Class hatchback, Volkswagen with their Golf hatchback, BMW 1 Series hatchback. So if that's who you're going against, you got them. If you're going against the French, you got the Megane hatchback, or had the Megane in the hatchback. You got the Citroën C3 in its hatchback. Granted, not the same calibre as this, but it is a hatchback nonetheless. Vauxhall, Astra, Ford Focus, Alfa Romeo Giulia, and so on. You see what I'm getting at? Everyone had nearly every manufacturer seemed to have a hatchback of some capacity, and Volvo were in on the market, did quite well, and then lost it. This is probably one of the few Volvos my parents didn't have. Interestingly, my dad has actually been able to get in this. He got in it when I first showed it to them, and in the driver's seat as well. Now he thinks he could have lived with one had he had the right engine when he got in it. He's like, yeah, I might have been able to live with it, because when he had a silver V70 D2 Business Edition, which was a V70 but with a 1.6 diesel in it. The other option he could have got at the time was a V40 with a D4. So it would have been a 108, I think it was a 180 horsepower engine in that at the time. So it was the right body with the wrong engine, or the right engine in the wrong body. Now this for me is really good. This is just on a journey to Newcastle and back. It was an easy journey. The thing ate the miles. It was one of those drives where you blink and you covered 10 miles. Now it might be because for the first time in ages there were no roadworks, or hardly any roadworks, on the way up. There was this bridge near Doncaster that had been going on for years. They've finished that. All the A1 works up around Gateshead and the Metro Centre, etc. That had all finished, and was all open and flowing again. So maybe I just got lucky and it was just a really good journey up. Journey back was a bit harder, but that's because roads are falling to pieces in places. There was about a 10-mile stretch where of 3-lane motorway that was reduced to 2 because the inside lane's falling to bits. I did mess up a gear change. I did accidentally shove it into second when I was trying to get it into fourth to re-accelerate. I didn't have to do any big stops on the brakes, as in I didn't have to do anything emergency-wise, so I've not had to see yet. Maybe on this, in the next bit of this video, I might see how well it drives, how well it comes to a stop, sorry. But what I am surprised about is just how right the cars felt to me. The Honda didn't feel wrong at all. This has just felt right, and I hope that's just not delirium, hopium, copium, whatever words you wish to use. I hope that is a genuine me forming a trust with this. Now, as is customary of all my cars, they all have names, and I did mention in another video that this car's got a name, and in case you haven't watched it, this car is called Beorn, in honour of the shapeshifter from The Hobbit. Why the shapeshifter? Well, the V40, as mentioned, started off life as an estate before it got dropped in favour of the V50, and then came back in this hatchback form. Hence shapeshifter. In terms of money, I traded it in no money out my pocket. Well, technically a little bit of money out my pocket. Technically in the sense of I had to pay the year's tax on it, and I opted to take out an extra year's warranty on this, more because of how I've been bitten with the Honda. I should be due its service plan back, which is about £690 something, so that will say eat into that or recover that, and I got a £130 refund from my car tax for the Honda. So this is in the £195 bracket for road tax. Hopefully they don't choose to try and tax these things off the road, otherwise I'll have to get rid of it again, which I don't particularly want to do, but if I must, I must. For me, overall, it's been an amazing drive. Fuel, it's currently running 40 miles a gallon, or 39.8 I think the first bit of the video showed, but on the way up to Newcastle, on the way back, we got it up to 40.2, so that wasn't too bad. When I filled it up for the first time in my ownership, it had the fuel light on. It reckoned it had 35 miles worth of range left. I put the more expensive Go Juice in, and it was something like £69. A couple of quid. There was not even £2 to change out of 70 quid. Basically, it was that they put in that much. It's odd to me that this is my 6th car, and in theory, as I'm going up the ranks in cars, so to speak, it's the one that's got the biggest fuel tank, despite the Swiss being the bigger car. But there we are. I'm confident we could get children in this quite comfortably. I'd need to see about how I could get the pushchair in, which I might do a separate video about what this car might be like with children. Put a couple of car seats in, see what it's like. Clutch has a nice feel. The steering wheel feels very nice. Maybe on the big side for some. I actually quite like it. I don't miss my paddles, surprisingly. I really don't miss my paddles that I had for the Honda. Don't know why I do, or I don't know why I don't. Maybe it's because it's a nice chunky steering wheel. Maybe it's because I know I've got the manual, so psychologically I know I've already got my gears covered. I don't know. Not I don't care, I just don't know. Would I have bought the car in silver? No. If I was buying this car brand new, I would not get it in silver. More because, in my mind, I believe silver in the Volvo lineup is about £2,000, or it was about a £2,000 option. And if I'm going to spend £2,000 on paint, I want something a bit more interesting than silver. At least that's my logic. I know some people say, well, why have you got a black Swace? Well, I'd actually ordered it in navy blue, and they didn't have any, and it was black. And now, having seen a few of them in the bronze, I probably would have ordered it in the bronze had I known what it looked like, but the 3D renders on the website didn't look particularly favourable. So, there we are. Overall, we'll do some driving in a minute, but it responds quite well. It's got a fairly good front end on it. Civic front end was tighter, it was a better front end. This car is noticeably higher off the floor than the Civic, and this isn't exactly, you know, a humongously tall vehicle. It just highlights just how low to the floor the Civic was. But they are two different beasts. The Civic was Civic was a saloon derived from a hatchback, and this has just been a hatchback through and through from the start. I'm hoping this isn't going to bleed me dry in terms of servicing. I do love the noise it makes when it's going. In terms of four-cylinder noises, yeah, it's probably not as nice a four-cylinder noise as you could probably get on the market. Probably some older Alfa Romeos make better noises, or made better noises. Maybe even some of the other Volvo, I think the 2.3 light pressure turbo intercooled ones from the 940 Celebration probably made a better noise than this does. But it makes a damn good noise, and I can lip the throttle, surprisingly. Very surprisingly, actually. It doesn't feel heavy, it doesn't want to wash wide when I've pushed it. I haven't pushed it as hard as I would have liked yet, but when I've pushed it just to begin to move it above perhaps its normal comfort level, it's responded. Currently running on Pirellis at the moment. I will probably switch it over to Falcons or Continentals when the time comes. However, that decision will more be driven by money and whether I've got to put it on a credit card. I really don't want to put it on a credit card, but if I must, I must. I do still make the mistake occasionally of put my foot on the brake when I try to start it instead of clutching in because it's got a neutral switch. That's just me. I do sometimes forget to put the key in because, again, keyless go in the Swace and in the Civic. As I suppose in the most recent Swace cast, it's highlighted how much I start to rely on technology when I normally don't. The Civic had Bliss blind spot indication system, fantastic piece of equipment, but I wasn't checking my mirrors as thoroughly as I should. In this, I am. So, perhaps one for the lessening the amount of tech. Anyway, shall we go for a drive? Let's go. Right, so as I mentioned, we're going to take this down some roads, going to take it down some different ones to what I would normally do for this sort of thing, because those roads are apparently in really bad shape. And I might do more just general zooming round. Well, zooming's the wrong word. That's the auto central locking. That's a setting I could change on the computer. I actually quite like it. Well, kind of like it. I do and I don't. It's not the worst thing in the world. The steering wheel feels very nice. It's got this weird flat nodule on it, which it's just weird, as in it's just not what I would have expected on a Volvo steering wheel. But whether that's because it's our design, or whether that's just because that's deemed to be the most ergonomic, I don't know. But it is an R design steering wheel. It's got a lovely feel to it. We come back on the gearbox. We've got a nice feel. We're going to let me just set my limiter. So this does have an eco mode in it where it keeps anyone who's driven recent manual cars, it keeps telling you to shift up, get your RPMs down, and this does have it, but it's not as, hey, look at me, as it is in the middle of the dash, as it is on quite a lot of cars. My first Swift, for example, it was very much a, hey, change up. One of my parents' Fiestas was like, oi, shift up, all the time. My Swift, I'd be doing, it would want me in 5th gear at 30 miles an hour just to get the RPMs down, which isn't ideal, or at least to me it isn't ideal. Now, one of the vents in this car does squeak. I think it's that one over there. This one over here doesn't raise properly, but it is a 2018 vehicle, so it isn't going to be fresh. There's another V40 just gone the other way. You see what I mentioned earlier about them being popular. They're good. They are good vehicles. So we're into the 40 now. I'm going to just up it into 5th, keep my RPMs a bit down, because we've also got some roadworks somewhere nearby here, I do believe. Visibility forwards and backwards is quite nice. It's noticeably shorter vehicle than the Civic, but not sort of a, I'm not, it's just an, I suppose it's just nicer proportioned on the inside. Right, let's get out of the way of that van. Put the throttle open, can you hear it? Into 4th, into 5th, into 6th. Fling it through there, on the brakes because someone's there. You know what, that's, I mean, I do enjoy getting up to speed and things, but that's probably a good reason with that person walking that dog. Probably a good reason why this should be a 40 a bit further along. Anyway, got a sign on the road saying slow, so 5th, blip, brake. Bit more blip and blip. Let's just roll it in, let the gravity do its thing. Through the bends, through and through. Lift off. There we go. Now, as cars for engaging to drive, yeah, I have no doubt the A3 is a better driver. Oh, pothole, pothole, pothole. Potholes everywhere. Knock it down a gear because we're on a bend. I know there's another pothole. There we go. I knew there was a pothole. It's actually quite nice and direct from front to back. Actually, I'm going to just do something here if I can. Let's have a feel of what the full braking's like. Ooh. The Swace's brakes are stronger. But then again, that's more car to stop. More car to stop. It is an automatic, so it hasn't got the gears to slow it down. Got anyone coming round? You might hear a slight whining. That is also one of the vents over there making a noise. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. It just does. When I haven't got music on, it does get a bit annoying. It's a good stereo in the car actually. The Honda's system was a bit rear biased, and sometimes if you're a passenger, it got a bit, no matter what music you listen to, whether you listen to something a bit musically like oh, what's the musical sound? Hairspray. If you're looking at listening to that classic I can't think what it's called now. World Spins Round and Round. That's the thing, when the world spins round and round and the harp goes on. That song. It's got a bit of beat and a bit of bass, but it's a bit horrible in the back. Or if you're listening to things like Bohemian Rhapsody, a bit of dun, 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 that's nice, but in the Civic it was sometimes a bit, there was also a bit of a noise that would happen on the speaker, sort of a bit of a buzz, and I don't know why it buzzed, but this, it's quite nice. Like I said, the seats, lovely. It's such a comfortable car, and as I mentioned in the interior bit, I don't know how well it shows up here, I've got my leg resting against the center console. And ergonomically speaking, you'd think that's painful, and I suppose after the long drive to Newcastle, it had gotten a bit painful. But it wasn't sort of a, oh, for fuck's sake, levels of uncomfortable. It wasn't, oh, I've made a grave error type of mistake. It's got a weird indicator tick for me. Now, some people might say that's a weird thing to comment on. I suppose I'm just used to more higher pitch. Third. Now I can get this quite, the RPM's quite high, but it doesn't feel like you're ragging it. It doesn't feel. Does it feel like it could do with a bit more go? Yeah, and I might get it might take it for a Polestar upgrade if money becomes my friend on that front. But there are far more important. I've got far more important things to do with my money before even considering something like that. And even Sarah would say, as much as she would love to see me spend some money on something that gets me entertained, she would completely agree that I've got far better things to spend my money on. The horn is actually a very good. It's as silly as it sounds to talk about the horn. My Civic and my Swace, for the type of vehicles they are, they've got sort of a almost Roadrunner meep meep sort of quality to them, which can be funny, but sometimes in the Swace, which is the big black hulk of metal that is, and for it to basically go meep meep is a bit stupid, really. But there we are. Sarah doesn't mind the gearbox. She found the bite point quite nicely, got it into reverse quite nicely. Like I said, finding sixth the first time, because as I mentioned in other videos, sixth for me was always a bit of an unnatural motion, because having learned in 5-speed vehicles, sixth was reverse or didn't exist. But it's been very easy to get used to, probably because I've had a reset of automatics. It's not been. There we go. Let's give it a bit. Come on, 54, 55, 58. There we go. And 60, we're into sixth at 60 miles an hour. We're about 1700 RPM, so it ticks along quite nicely, quite quietly. I think the improved dynamics of this vehicle, compared to maybe its original V40 predecessor, the original V40, is because it's just shorter. I don't know what steering rack it's running. I don't know if it's a Volvo steering rack. I don't know if it's Ford or some sort of repurposed Peugeot. Then I'd imagine, I'd like to think it was its own thing, because I think when this came, no, Volvo was still Ford at the time. It hadn't got into the Geely group. Geely. Sounds like a Tolkien extra, doesn't it? Geely. Biffa Buffer Bomber. The tyres do feel the ride in this, probably because of the tyres, is very smooth, and I've hit some potholes at some speed, and in the Civic it made an almighty bang, a sort of a, oh, that's a track rod end type of bang, or at least something of a similar level of expense. And in this, I don't condone hitting the potholes. I don't condone the potholes and the way we've let our roads disintegrate and dissolve, and just, it's a sort of an shitification, I think is the word that the internet likes to use. I do miss my Android Auto at times. The switch gear for the sat-nav, whilst it's got a built-in sat-nav, it is not the easiest to work out. It involves a lot of button twizzling. If you're on the move, you can't do it on the move. I know you shouldn't really do it on the move, but it's sort of a, no, if I did that on the move, I'm ending up in a lamppost. And I've got the whole phone functionality down here. The actual buttons are actually quite handy rather than doing the whole call. Sarah, I do believe I've got voice controls on here, but I've not seen how good or bad they are. I believe I've even got the same thing on here for if I was to parallel park it, and that it would do it itself, which would be, that'd be interesting to try. Maybe that might be a video in itself, trying to trust that to do it, but I've got to find somewhere to do that without it fucking up. So that is me home, me done. So this is my review of my V40. It's a fantastic purchase. I should have looked at one before. That's all I can really say. Well, I say fantastic purchase. So far, in the couple of weeks I've had it, it's been a fantastic purchase. Over time, we'll see how that goes. It's lovely to drive. It's so easy. Even after I've been to the gym, and I hadn't been to the gym for a good few weeks when I went tail end of January, maybe even months. It's just my parking sensors telling me I'm nearly hitting the plants at the end of the driveway. And it's also got stop-start, which can be... It can be advantageous to stop-start, but not always brilliant. Doesn't, because it hasn't got the brake hold, I haven't got to worry about it snatching brakes on when I'm trying to creep. Yeah, so far, in the few weeks I've had it, it's been a really good purchase, and I should have bought one earlier. The dealership, the Holden dealership where my dad gets his Volvos from, that used to be Sesson Lata in Bury, when I spoke to a guy, I think it was Matt, it wasn't Tom Crawford. I believe I mentioned it in another video, but if you're needing a Volvo from Holden in Bury St Evans, Tom Crawford's your man. And that's not sponsored or anything, he's just a good guy. Particularly good guy for having to put up with my dad for all these years. Anyway, sorry Dad. Matt reckoned that this car was undervalued at John Banks for what it's got. And I find that interesting because the problem is car values are complete and utter. You might as well pick a number and put a number on a dartboard and throw a dart at it. It's that level of question mark. Because when I've put this into We Buy Any Car, they'd only offer me $7,000. So I did wonder if they're undercharging that much, do I do a quick wheel and deal with it, i.e. take it, upsell it, and run away onto something else, which did cross my mind. But $7,000 for it, I'm happy just to keep running it. But he reckoned it was undervalued. I do need to find out, there is a service stamp missing, and I don't know whether that's because it wasn't a Volvo service, so they haven't stamped it, or what have you, or because it was a used car. Maybe it was a different, as in a former fleet vehicle, I think, because there's an Enterprise sticker somewhere in here that implies it might have been one. It's missing a stamp, and I do want to find out what service it did have, just for completeness, really. For if I do decide to sell it, it's like, yeah, it's got a mostly full service history. The first one, they don't know where it was done, but it's been Volvo serviced ever since. Or, yeah, we did it, we forgot, and we can't retroactively stamp it, which is also fine. Yeah, I do just really like it. The cup holders, though, are in a weird position. I do have USB. I suppose the weird thing, as I mentioned, I do sort of miss my Android Auto. My Balenos, 2017 and 2018, had Android Auto, and those cars were under $12,000 each out the factory. This being the T2R Design Pro Nav, which in old Volvo language specifications level, I believe, would put this at an SE Lux or a Sport Lux. And it not having that is a bit awkward, and it being a 2018 model. I know Volvo were doing their own thing and have done their own thing, but weird. Oh, I've also got a heated windscreen as well, a proper heated one. And fortunately or unfortunately, it's not been cold enough to actually have to put it to the test. Hopefully it doesn't get that cold again with us being in March, but we are in March, and we've known it snow. We had Beast from the East a few years ago, didn't we? Anyway, so far in the short time I've owned it, I do really like it. Beautifully put together. So that's just to stop-start. Beautifully put together. Fantastically comfortable. I suppose you could say I feel home in it. That was just my dash cam turning off. I think I feel quite at home in it so far. So, thank you very much for watching. Drive safe, look after yourselves. I will see you in the next one.